Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is a scene for Empire of Thorns. It's a little small social scene taking place in the spring court between a few NPCs. Liam has had a few days of just kind of whirlwind activity between Pearl and some things going on in his own life, and just it's just one of those things where just everything is kind of stacked on top one another, and he's just tired by this point. It's early in the day. It's somewhere around. It's after the party, but it's still early, so it's around 6-ish. And he basically kind of walks into the kitchen. He's wearing a. It's kind of odd what he's wearing, but he's wearing like a sarong around his waist, but like kind of it's almost like one of those tapestry like kind of cloths.
Mm-hmm.
It's tied at his hip, and he has on a black tank top, and he's barefoot. And he's just kind of rubbing sleep out of his eyes. He was napping after he got back from the birthday party. He'll kind of yawn.
And he will notice a small girl with a fluffy foxtail and ears kind of humming to herself as she makes a sandwich. She's got headphones in, so she doesn't really notice.
He'll kind of grin softly. And how far in the sandwich making is she? Has she started to assemble, or is she just gathering ingredients?
The ingredients are laid out. She hasn't started stacking yet.
Okay. He'll actually kind of politely tap her shoulder.
And she'll look up and blink a couple times.
He'll smile politely at her.
And she'll pull the headphones out of her ears. Oh, hello.
We're about to make dinner. Would you like something a little more substantial than a sandwich?
Well, that's very kind of you. Sure.
He'll kind of sniff. You know when somebody's waking up and they're still sniffing and rubbing and trying to wake the fuck up, like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
He'll kind of look over at her. He's like, darling, would you put on some coffee before I drop dead?
Okay. Sure. And she'll kind of clean up her mess and set the pot of coffee on.
He'll look around. He's like, do you have any dietary restrictions?
Um, I don't like mushrooms.
Nod. He'll take out some steak wrapped in butcher's paper, and he'll kind of put it on the counter on a cutting board, and he'll begin to like thinly slice it, not too thin, but strips basically, and he'll let that rest there, and he'll go and he'll pull out some peppers, some onion, and some water chestnuts in a jar, and he'll start, chopping those basically. And he says, "So, what's your name?"
My name is Claire.
I'll kind of think on it for a moment. Mm-hmm. I've heard about you.
About me? Oh, goodness.
The Rev talks about you. He says that you're sweet.
Well, he found me, so.
How long have you been back?
And she kind of scratches behind her ear. Almost 2 months.
How long were you gone?
7 years?
Oh, wow.
So not too long, but long enough.
I was gone from 1929 to 1991.
Oh. Oh my, that must have been shocking when you came back.
Just a bit. He'll smile.
Yeah, 7-year difference was confusing enough. I couldn't imagine that many years.
I think one of the largest things that really shocked me was, well, one of the first things is in 1929 the Wall Street crashed. It was a big Wall Street crash. And as I heard about it after that, there was a great economic collapse. I think they called it the Great Depression.
Yep, that's what they called it.
And apparently it was so bad that it led a lot of people into economic ruin, and he'll just kind of shake his head to extreme poverty and kind of like, I guess, deprivation.
It was devastating to the country.
I can't imagine how that would happen.
She blinks a little bit and ponders. Well, at that point in the country, big business was running everything, and when big business failed, everything around it failed. It's kind of like a stack of cards. Have you ever seen like a... She kind of makes her hands move a little bit. Like a tower of playing cards?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if just one of those playing cards gets a little messed up, or gets shifted in just a little bit of a way, the whole thing comes crashing down, and that's what happened.
When I was taken, they were working in that big building, and I would just come here from England, actually. And I had been a veteran of the war. And my diocese had sent me out here to serve. And they were beginning to build the Rockefeller. That's when I was taken. It was shortly around then.
Oh my. Your diocese? She tilts her head.
I was a priest. Chaplain in British Army. Yes, I was a priest. My first duty of service was to the Lord.
How do you feel about it now?
I have a very complicated relationship with God. But then again, I spent from 1929 to 1991 in hell. So
Wait, like the real hell? Like,
I'll shrug and say, I don't know if it was the real hell or not. Certainly felt like it. For my piety and my adherence to my vows, even with my handsome face. I was put to the lair with the... How would you say it politely? He'll kind of look at her, not wanting to be rude.
Well, her tail kind of swishes a little bit.
No. I was put to tempt people.
Oh, I see. For a man of the cloth, that must have been horrible.
I didn't understand what I did to deserve it. I never got to the point where I cursed God's name outright, but I did wonder, in his infinite wisdom, what wisdom there was in sending me to what I had been taught my entire life was a punishment. I thought maybe it was for my actions in the war. I was only defending my country and helping to save the souls of those lost. I thought maybe I had done something, or maybe I'll shrug. Maybe it was I don't know. I have no answers. Maybe when I finally pass from this world and I get to my creator, I'll find out why. He has yet deigned to show me now. I have to live satisfied with that. He's got the veggies in Julienne up now. And he'll start pulling over some spices and different types of spices in jars, and he'll kind of dump them all into like a bowl. Like he kind of eyeballs out the measurements, but he's actually doing a pretty good job. And he'll gotta get the spices all mixed up, and then he'll go back into the fridge and pull out a container of plain yogurt. Open that and dump that into the bowl and mix it up. A little bit of coconut milk. He'll use the rest of the coconut milk in some rice. Cook that up and get that going. He'll also pour a cup of coffee and try to wake the fuck up. I was up very late last night. I'm sorry for I was up late, and then I went to a party. And by the time I got back here, I took a nap, but I feel like I'm going on days on fumes.
She hops up on one of the kitchen stools and watches him curiously. Well, what's had you so busy?
Well, I just coming into the season. We just got an archive today, so coming into the season and coming into the festivities, I've been helping to plan all of the court parties and balls and whatnots. And honestly, I'm not very good at that. I'm not. I don't socialize that much in that way. And so basically, I'll just kind of shake his head just between all of the organization and all of the numbers and making sure that there's enough for everything. And the king is very new to it all. He's been helping me. I've had some help from the High Sirs, but I'm just a sage escort. This isn't really my bread and butter,
Well, she'll tilt her head to the side a little bit and her ear will flick. I'm still learning what all of these titles mean.
Oh, okay. He'll put like a little smear of coconut oil in the thing and let it melt, and throw the veggies in. Pick one of them.
Well, what does your title do?
Oh, let's go a little bit higher than me and work our way down.
Well, the king. I've seen the king.
Okay, so the king you've got. The High Sirs. You know what that is?
They're like recruiters?
Yes, and also some of them consider them the status keepers of the court. They're the ones who kind of decide. Have you ever seen MST3K? I want to decide who lives and who dies.
Blink, blink, nod.
That's kind of their gig. They sort of decide who in the court is like the social filter, as it were. And they decide who joins the court. The High Source is the one who final say who joins the court. And they recommend members of the court, bring them in time Claudio approves them and brings them into our fold. But they're the ones who always have an eye out for the next for the next hottest court member, as it were. So that's the High Source, the king, obviously, our dear King Ferran. He is our monarch. He is the one who furthers the court's ambitions for desire in the city. Sees that our court is getting along amicably with the others.
I dropped it, just got back in. What did I miss?
He was explaining what a Circe was.
Okay.
Okay, so after that, he'll explain, sure, stage escort is what I am. And I know by the sound escort, that might sound a bit unbecoming. But we see to the needs of the court. We make sure that, he kind of tilts his head. How old are you? I don't mean that rudely, but I know that you're probably older than you look, but...
Sorry.
It's fine.
Technically I'm 19. But
Are you...
What?
Well, we're in the same... We sage escorts are in the same... He'll kind of think about it for a moment. We're in the same... class as the Joyo, the avant-garde. We're givers. We're the givers of the court. It's our position to give ourselves. Either by... We exist to fulfill others' desires. Be it social or personal desires, or intellectual and creative ideas, or desires of pleasure. Sensualists. And we sage escorts specialize in sensualism. He gets a look on his face. If you want to make a wits empathy roll.
Let me just see what she's got.
Oh Lord, do you see all the things?
Yep.
He's been very open and conversational with her, and very just kind of kind to her.
Mm-hmm.
When he admits that he's a sage escort and then explains it, the look on his face, he doesn't disengage, but he definitely gets his presence kind of turns towards, and now you're probably just gonna think I'm a whore, so it's not that he gives up on the conversation. He just, from this point on, assumes that she's going to basically assume he's nothing more than a whore and treat him thus.
She is actually gonna reach out and touch his hand very softly.
His brow will go up, and I'll kind of look over at her.
Does it make you happy?
There's a movie called Amelie. Have you ever seen it?
She shakes her head.
It's a very beautiful movie. We'll have to watch it. It's a favorite here around the court, but at one point, she visits someone, and a wife chides a husband because he had spent his entire life being a ticket puncher for the underground. And she brought forward and threw down on the table in front of him a laurel leaf branch with holes punched all in the leaves. And she laughed and exclaimed that he spent so long punching the tickets that he was punching holes in all of her laurel leaves. Get up at night and punch holes in her laurel leaves. I spent so much time pleasing other people, tempting them, indulging in the carnal, that it's become my nature. It's become what I am. And if I don't indulge in physical activity, I feel sick. I do enjoy it. But if I didn't do it, it's almost as though I'm denying who and what I am. Am I happy? I'll kind of shrug. No more than I am about anything else in my life. I wouldn't change it. The only thing I really ever get tired of is, one, that everybody assumes that I'm screwing everyone else, and two, that the face changes so much. You know what I mean?
She'll nod.
I wake up to so many different lovers, and although I don't tend to penetrate them often, although I don't tend to do that, just be nice maybe to have some consistency. Yeah, but nobody buys rental cars, and no one dates a Sage escort. I'll just shrug. And he'll throw the meat in. Kind of give it a stir and push around.
And she kind of tilts her head a little bit and looks at him at that.
So, what was your vacation like?
I was locked in a library, which at first didn't seem that bad, right? I love books. Books are my life. And then I was told I had to put the books in order, and that when I got them in order, I would be able to go home. But every morning when I woke up, all the books would be back on the floor again.
How did you become a fox?
She shrugs.
Oh, c'est la vie, huh?
Oh, I like being a fox.
He'll grin and kind of scritch behind her ear.
Oh, she melts.
He'll kind of smile. And he'll kind of put a serving of rice on the plate and spoon the curry mixture on, and sprinkle some chopped cashews on top. And he'll take her into the court dining rooms, basically. Sit down with her. It's not quite cafeteria style. It's more like dining room style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not like a dining room with like one table, but like a really nice. You know what? Actually, like if you were thinking of like the dining room at like Hogwarts, that's almost kind of like what it's like, except the tables are more spread out.
Okay.
So they'll just kind of sit down. There's a couple of other people in there playing games or talking or eating or just making plans or ticking off, but you'll find a more kind of quiet place with her.
Which she appreciates so much. Because when they walk in the room and she hears the noise, she kind of, like, her ears go down, her tail goes between her legs a little bit.
What's wrong?
There's just, I don't really like crowds.
He'll kind of look around and he'll kind of motion his head, like, come this way.
She'll nod and follow him.
He'll kind of go through a few other places, and he'll go into a room, and it's a very, very nice dining room. Like, this one is a dining room. And he'll sit down, basically, at the table and kind of put her plate down and kind of sit across from her. There you go.
Thank you.
You can make me a wits politics roll if you want. If she doesn't have politics, then just a straight wits roll will work.
Oh no, she doesn't have politics.
Oh, hey girl, the royal politics.
But I got nothing.
You got nothing? You have no idea where you are.
Nope. Nope.
So he'll yawn and kind of start digging in, drinking his coffee.
And she's just looking at him as she's eating.
He'll kind of take a few bites, and then he'll stop and kind of look up at her.
I think people might be intimidated of you.
They might be what?
Intimidated of you.
Why do you say that?
She tilts her head again. You're so confident, I guess.
I was a soldier. And priests, and I think people forget this, are orators. We have to deliver sermons, act as leaders. Then, involving temptation, well, you have to approach it from a place of surety. So thank you, but I am not confident for no reason. Although I'll tell you, it knocked my confidence a little bit when I got my first gray hair. He'll kind of look up at his mop of very strangely colored hair. His hair is it's like he's graying, but you can tell it was brown at one point.
She actually reaches up and touches his hair.
He'll smile.
I like it.
Oh?
Makes you look distinguished.
I guess. Out of game, I'm about to send you a picture to show you his hair color.
Okay.
In color, it's different. I like your hair color a lot too, actually.
It's the same color as her.
I've always liked red hair.
And she blushes a little bit. but he can hear her tail moving.
Thank you for the picture later out again. That's what color his hair is. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's graying, but it's definitely still brown.
Yeah, it's not quite either direction. It's kind of in the middle.
Yep. He looks like he's probably in his late 30s.
Well, she looks 18, 19, maybe 20. But on her vacation, as it were, it seemed like 20 years.
Poor thing.
She's eating, and she still just keeps like glancing up at him and back down to her plate.
What are you thinking?
For what? Oh, nothing. And she blushes, and it like spreads across her nose.
He'll kind of like he'll just shake his head. Oh, what?
Well, you're beautiful.
Please. Beauty is nothing, and it fades over time. It's a fleeting trait. You complimented me more by telling me you thought I was confident.
Well, I wasn't talking about your looks, but they are lovely.
He'll blink. I'm used to being distilled down to nothing more than my looks. The fact that I can cook and sing, and the fact that I can write, hell, the fact that I can knit, are only important to me.
When he says knit, her eyes light up. You can knit?
Yes. It was much, much more common back when I was a younger man, and we often knitted, not only to pass the time, but to make. We served the homeless and the poor. They were often cold. Scarves, gloves, blankets. They weren't manufactured by machines back then. They were usually made by hand, so most of us knew how to knit.
Well, I can crochet.
Oh, I can crochet too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Yes, I'm aware of how to knit and crochet.
Maybe
I can finger knit.
Maybe you can teach me.
He'll kind of look at what state her food is in.
She's mostly done.
He is too. And he'll essentially he'll grab he'll finish up with her, and he'll kind of grab the plates and go and put them in the dishwasher. He'll kind of shut the door and say, I hope the king doesn't mind we used his dining room.
Oh my.
And kind of walk away with her. And he'll take her back out to the main common room, and he'll say, I'll be right back. I won't be long.
Okay.
And he really is only gone for about maybe tops 5 minutes. And he'll come back carrying a basket. And he'll set it down between them, basically, on one of the love seats. He's also brought back a blanket. Like, he'll kind of throw the blanket over them and kind of take up one side and give her the other side and put the basket between them.
Okay.
And he'll there's a small selection of colors. Some of them are kind of more natural or like dark greens, like forest greens or things like that. But if she wants, there's bright colors too. There's a few, blues and some green and maybe like a red or something. But most of it is neutral or dark colors.
She would probably go for like a brown or a darker green.
Okay, there's both of those kinds of colors in there. So he'll kind of pick up. He has for him himself. He has a pair of wooden, like very wooden, polished, like kind of, like very beautiful, almost knitting needles. But he'll kind of search around it for a moment and kind of pull out another set. It's actually the kind that have like the little. It's the kind where you can like it has like the guards to where like your fingers won't get overtired.
Okay.
So he'll kind of I know knitting. I don't know how to do it. Like I know how to do it. I can't do it. But
I actually do know how to do it. So.
Yeah, I possess the technical knowledge how to do it. If I had to do it, I could. But there's 2 reasons I can't. I'll tell you afterwards.
Yep.
But so he'll hand her he'll kind of make the little tail and like hand her the string, like the yarn and the knitting needles, and he'll just basically explain. He'll explain to her like how to make a row and how to make like the starting and stuff like that, and like kind of slowly show her how to do it.
Okay.
So what do you like to crochet?
I make hats and slippers.
I crocheted the Afghan on my bed.
I've never made anything that big.
It takes time. He's working on a scarf right now. He'll tell her it's for the king. It's got like a wild amount of colors on it. Like like an obscene amount of color. It's not bad. It's just one of those like, oh my god, wow.
And
that is most certainly for the king.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's working on knitting it, and he'll say, I think the largest thing I ever knit was, and he'll say, actually, I think it was the Afghan for my bed. My bed is king size. So.
Oh.
I like to stretch out, and I'm 6'3", so.
Yeah, she's like 5'3".
No yawn. I have such a horrible problem.
What's that?
I drank coffee, so now I'm not going to go to sleep. But I'm so tired.
Well, is there anything we can do to burn off energy? She tilts her head.
One second. Okay, yeah, actually, I know what he'll do. He'll, as he's knitting, he'll kind of say, well, I know something that we can do that involves blankets and pillows. And he'll kind of look up at her with a small smirk.
And she'll blush like deep red, but she won't look away from him.
And he'll look back at his knitting and say, pillow forts, naturally. We could make a blanket.
And she squeaks. Yep.
Or we could go back to my room and make love until I pass out. He'll nod, still looking at his knitting.
Yeah, she, tips over.
Fine with either.
And she'll look at him.
He'll look down at her on the floor. As I said, I'm a sage escort. It's my place in the court to make sure that the members are pleased.
And her eyes are big. It's one of her things. So she looks up at him with these big blue eyes. But he'll make sure that you're happy and you're pleased.
Oh, he'll shrug and say, I mind myself. It's fine.
And
I find pleasure. I do find pleasure in pleasing other people. He'll set his knitting aside, and he'll smile at her, and he'll slip down from the couch, slide down from it, and crawl over to her, moving very, not overly sensual. The problem is this man knows how to wield his weapon, his sensuality like a weapon.
Yeah.
And it is at this exact moment doing just that. It's not. He's just doing it. All he's doing is crawling over to her, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah, her eyes get a little wider, and she looks at him, and she almost whispers, well, I could mind you.
Mm-hmm. Kind of chew his lip for a moment. You have such a sweet, innocent air about you. His tail will actually come and stroke her cheek.
And she, again, when you think that she couldn't blush any deeper, she proves him wrong. Oh my.
But then again, I've known some young women who seemed as pure as the driven snow, and yet could make me scream until my throat was raw. Have you any experience with a man, my dear?
And she very softly nods.
Have you taken a man inside?
Again, she nods.
Oh, thank God.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle.
Well, unless you're insisting on we bring someone tonight, I'd rather we keep it to us. As a slight joke, he says to her.
Oh.
I'm being too forward. I am being far too forward with you. I'm sorry.
And he actually feels her tail sort of caressing his leg.
Are you related to the Reverend? That just occurred to me. Your last name is Clara, your name's Clara Kelly?
We're not related. He found me and I didn't remember my name, so we picked this name.
Oh, he'll fan himself for a moment. I could not sleep with the preacher's daughter. No, no, no. Oh, like, literally, it's like a weight left him for a moment. Oh, okay. Well, that out of the way. He'll hop up and scoop her up in his arms.
Oh! And she sort of wraps her arms around his neck.
I mean, unless you want to go back to knitting, we can do that if you'd like.
It'll be there when we're done.
Oh! I hope nobody disturbs it until tomorrow morning. Okay. He'll nod. And he will take her back to his bedroom to show her that Afghan blanket. I think we can end that here.
Yep.
So, thank you players for playing. Thank you Kelly for seducing. Goodbye.